Okay, so real quick, yesterday we started talking about essential, non-essential clauses. Okay, you guys have notes on the first six slides here. So quick review. Okay, we talked about what they are. Okay, they're a type of dependent clause, and essential or non-essential, they're both what we call relative clauses. They describe subjects and objects. Okay, now remember, these are the five words that you need to make sure that you had written down. These are our relative pronouns. They always begin the relative clause: that, which, who, whom, whose. Okay, and that's the whole list. Now, we talked about an example of what a relative clause looks like. So, the woman who did my taxes saved me money. Okay, the part in blue there is the relative clause. Okay, who did my taxes. Now remember, by itself, it's a dependent clause. Okay, it can't be its own sentence. That would be a fragment. Okay, it can also be deleted. Okay, the independent clause is the woman saved me money. All right, other examples that we looked at. Okay, all of the things in green. And sorry, I didn't mean to switch the colors. I thought I had that consistent. Um, this time, all of the relative clauses are in green. Okay, that sank in 1800. Whom you met, which were for special occasions, whose dog ran away. Okay, those are all relative clauses. They're all describing the words in blue. Okay, it describes ship, describes man, describes bottles, friend. Okay, now we talked about essential relative clauses. All right, now this is where it really gets to the core, and this is what affects punctuation, understanding the difference between essential and non essential. Okay, so an essential relative clause is when that clause is the only thing that specifies the subject or the object. Okay, so if we look at our examples again, in all of these cases, the relative clause is the only thing that specifies the words in blue. Okay, there's nothing else that specifies ship. Of all the ships that have sank, okay, which ship are we talking about? Talking about the one that sank in 1800. Okay, I talked to the man. Well, of all the men in all the world, which one did we talk? Which one did I talk to? The one whom you met. Okay, so the relative clause is the only thing that specifies the man. All right, same with the other two examples. Now, we talked about this, and this is where we left off. Okay, what's a non essential relative clause? Well, basically, it's when the relative clause is extra information. Okay, or in other words, a non essential clause is when the relative clause is not the only thing that specifies the subject or the object. Okay, something else specifies it as well. Now, punctuation. This is where it affects our writing. Non essential clauses need to be placed within commas. So, what does it look like? Something like this: my best friend, who is also your cousin, will be here for Christmas. All right, now the word in blue, that's the thing that's being described or specified. But if we look at it in this sentence, okay, sure, we have a relative clause, okay, the part in green, who is also your cousin. Does that specify friend? Yes, it does. Okay, however, so does my best. Okay, as a matter of fact, my best specifies friend first. In fact, of all the friends that I have, okay, it makes me sound more popular than I am, but I have multiple friends. Okay, of all the friends that I have, okay, which one am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about my best friend. So here's the deal: friend is already specified. Okay, it's specified by my best. So now that relative clause, who is also your cousin, that is now extra information. It's extra specification. All right, friend has already been identified or specified. Okay, so now that clause is extra. So it's non essential. So we put it in commas. Okay, so make sure that you have this example written down and that rule. Okay, now one other little caveat here. Proper nouns. So remember, a proper noun is a name. Okay. If I simply say, the man, okay, that's a common noun. But if I call him by his name and say Steve, okay, or Mr. Wilson or whatever, that's a proper noun. Okay. So if a relative clause is describing a subject or object that is already named in proper noun form, it will be a non-essential clause. Okay, so for example, I rode with Mr. Wilson, who is my neighbor. Okay, if instead I had said I rode with the man who is my neighbor, okay, we see a change here. In the top example, because I call him Mr. Wilson, his name specifies it. All right, we're not, of all the men that I could have rode with here, like there's a lot of them. But if I say Mr. Wilson, that specifies it. Okay, so now who is my neighbor? That's extra information. Okay, so that example is non-essential. But on the bottom, if I just say I rode with the man, okay, or I rode with the man who is my neighbor, who is my neighbor is now the only thing that specifies man. So it's essential. So in the top example, I have to put it in commas. Now, obviously, I don't put a comma at the end because it's finishing the sentence, so I just put a period, okay? But I have to put at least a comma in front of it. Down at the bottom, because it's essential, no comma. Okay. The last slide, I'll give you just a little more time here, but we only have one more slide. Okay. Last slide. Prepositional phrases. So, prepositional phrases also can specify subjects and objects. When this happens and a relative clause is present, the clause will be non-essential. So, for example, the vehicle in my garage, which is just an old pickup, is collecting dust. Okay, so in this example, we have a prepositional phrase there. And that prepositional phrase is specifying the vehicle. Okay, of all the vehicles in all the world, which one am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the vehicle in my garage. Okay, so that phrase is identifying, specifying vehicle. So now our clause, and again, look at the word which. What is that word representing? Well, it's representing the vehicle. Okay, so this clause, yeah, it's specifying vehicle as well, but it's secondary now. It's extra. Something else is specifying it first. Okay, the prepositional phrase in my garage specifies vehicle. So now this is extra information. So we put it in commas because it is non-essential. Okay, so that's the bottom line with this, guys. When you're looking at relative clauses, first of all, figure out what is it that the clause is describing, what word, and is it the only thing that specifies that word, or does something else specify that word as well? Okay, if it's the only thing, it's essential. If it's Extra, it's non-essential. Okay? And that's it.